evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade, J52, and I am joined by my merry band of misfit cohorts. We have immediately off to my character's right, the RP Hologram of the Year, Artie.
Hello.
RP Hologram of the Year?
I know, right?
I don't remember voting on this.
Yeah, I don't remember many people voting for it either. Apparently one vote does count, so there we go.
And then off to my immediate left, we have whatever the heck that is, TeacherKirby.
Let's do invasion. Let's do invasion. Oh, hi!
Yeah, she's in full-on mirror invasion mode, not saying that I'm not either, but we know how that goes. And then, somewhere on the bridge, break out the flea dip, we have a guest host with us this evening, and that is the Timberwolf.
I'm over here just talking up a trill. She looks rather nice. She needed my help.
Uh-huh. And as usual, he's hitting on my bridge officers.
Your fault, not mine.
No.
They're not real timber.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, don't tell him that. So, that's the insanity that I deal with, folks, but... anyways, we've got some interesting stuff to get through for you guys this week, so let's go ahead and dive into our articles. And we have our new introducing the Gamma Task Force Reputation. Now, this article kind of touches base on some of the stuff that we're going to have. Touches base on the new Gamma Marks and the new Sector Space Battle Zone. Touches base on our Gamma Team Synergies, which is our Space 4-piece. Everything. Gives our Gamma Deflector, and I know Timber will have some stuff to say about this in a minute, but our Gamma Deflector provides substantial boost to Control X and Drain X, as well as giving a hull resistance debuff to targets hit with projectiles. Our combat engines guarantee that we will keep our aux power even at full impulse, and will give a short aux power boost for leaving full impulse, and gets a little bit more maneuverability out of less power than any other combat engine. Then we've got our shield, which it's actually pretty nice. Absorbs incoming damage with minimal bleed through, so it is a resilient shield with boosted passive regen, and then base resistance to phaser damage. And then it also adds additional boost to all energy damage resistance when you're actively debuffing enemies. And then our warp core is basically a sector space core. And then some of our set bonuses are nice. Our 2-, 3-, and 4-piece set bonuses will actually broadcast to the team. For the 2-piece, you get 10% flight speed and turn rate. For the 3-piece, you get 10% kinetic damage and accuracy rating. And then you get, for the 4-piece, 10 control and drain expertise and 5 hull and shield cap. Whew, had to mute the mic for a second because I doubt y'all wanted me to sneeze over the stream, but...
No.
And then these set bonuses will actually broadcast to the team, so potentially stacking up to 5 times, so for very substantial boost. And then that's some of the things that we have here. I'm kind of skimming some of the big key points and everything. But thoughts from the panel here?
Well,
do you want to go first, or shall I?
I'll go first because we actually tested it.
Yeah, you go first.
You know, we did our intel report, me and Darkblade, and we released this today, honestly, on the date of recording. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, this is a few days ago. One big thing I wanted to state was in our intel report, we talk about how it's re-rollable on Tribble. You can re-roll the mods on Tribble. This was confirmed by Spartan, I believe, as of yesterday, around the time we were actually recording and getting everything ready, that this will be the first reputation set, as far as the weapons and the shield set, that will be re-rollable when it hits holodeck. So this is the first reputation gear set where you can re-roll the mods. So if you're not fond of it as is, you can re-roll the mods to something more favorable. We showed a few examples of that yesterday, one of which was the deflector. We were actually able to re-roll the deflector so that it had 32 EPG, 74.4 Control X, 32 Drain. It has a Science cooldown on Ultra Rare, and then it has the debuff when you're hitting targets with torpedoes. So it's going to be a high-end Science deflector, is my guess, going on how you re-rolled that. So if you're not liking this gear, it's going to be even better depending on how you re-roll the mods, which makes it more versatile. Same goes for weapons. So this is definitely a set to look into, considering you can change the mods if you think that they need a little fine-tuning. But we are going to preface the fact that we tested it after we recorded our intel report. Darkblade used the entire 4-piece. He used the console, the beam array, and then what else did you use? Did you use the torpedo?
I used... no, I did not. I used the 4-piece for the gamma set. I used the Omni beam. I used the console, and then one of the space traits.
Which, one of the things we did cover is the space trait, the magnified firepower, and then the magnified armaments for ground. Those are Category 2 bonuses, since they're listed as bonus all damage, so they are sizable damage increases for space all damage and ground all damage. But he tested the gear as is, without changing any of the mods. I rolled my Phaser Odyssey that I'm using on holodeck, and we did Argala Elite as our test. He went in and tanked, I went in and DPS'd. And we have the parse to prove it. We did a 6-minute, 12-second run of Argala Elite. No deaths, minimal damage, and I did 147k as the DPSer. He did 85k as the tank, and he didn't lose hardly any shields. So, as is, it's a pretty decent set. Of course, we know what we're doing when we're doing these kind of crazy tests, but it's a good set. It's going to hold up against a lot of phaser damage, which we were facing the Ks on. So it's not going to be a set you really want to pass up just because it's another reputation to grind. And considering its rerollability, it's going to be even better. So definitely do not want to pass up on this. The moment you can start, getting through it, the better. The day one, I'd start working on it. And for Polarons, I can see definitely, since it's a Polaron set, it's a good one. And one last thing on my thoughts on it, one thing we noticed, the Arc mod on the Omni project weapon, the Advanced Inhibiting Polaron Omni, the Arc mod is not there. Instead, it's been built into the weapon itself. So instead of having a damage 3 arc like you would have on any other Omni, you can actually have a damage times 4. So that's going to make the Omni a little bit more versatile when it comes to damage output, is you don't have to worry about that Arc mod getting in the way. We haven't really tested the Omni as far as if it works with crafted or mission, to see if maybe it works with a chronometric. You can have 2 on the same build, or if you have to have a crafted Omni instead.
It does.
Oh, you can use the chronometric with it?
Yep.
Okay, so there you go. So if you're running a Polaron build, run this with the chronometric. You're getting shield pin, the engine offline proc, and if you're flying faster than a target, the minus 10 all damage resistance. So it's a lot of stuff going on, but I think we both agreed this is going to be a good reputation that they're putting out for traits and everything. We're actually going to record the ground gear. At the time of this recording, we're going to record the ground gear tonight, go over it as best we can. But just go ahead, get in. If you can get into Triple, try it. If not, the moment it hits holodeck with victory, his life, start getting this, because this is decent gear.
Yep. And as far as one of the pieces goes, I know the shield generator and everything, where it gives the stacking resistance buff for the shields as long as you're debuffing the enemy. That's actually a pretty sizable increase. I think it came out to about What did we say? I think it was 20%. I said.
Yeah,
That's
if
what
you can
come
get
up
it to stack 5 times and keep refreshing, it's 20% shield resistance that it's like 10-15 seconds, but you can refresh it constantly.
Yep.
Then if you're re-rolling
So-
it, you got phaser resistance built in, plus whatever else you put on it.
Yep. But the big thing I had noticed, and this is something that some of my tanks might want to be aware of, with just that shield, if you play your cards right, if you're debuffing them a little bit, then depending on how you do it, you could potentially, if you're going to run that shield, replace the shield hardness in the skill tree and put something else in place because of that shield. It is that potent.
Yeah, definitely you don't want to sneeze at this. I mean, it might not be, and we've said this before, it might not be the end all be all go to, oh my god, awesome set. But it's definitely, since the mods are rerollable, it's definitely going to find its spot very well with a lot of players, depending on what they're wanting to do and how they like to build their ships.
And thoughts from the rest of the panel, I guess, now.
My biggest thing that I just noticed was just something that I thought was pretty funny. What was it? The Tier 5 trait, one little ship. I mean, I know that was from one of the DS9 episodes, but do you think they have like a permanently miniaturized Starfleet team just in a runabout, just ready to go, or is it like a drone?
That's a good question.
I mean, I would hate to be the guys in that job, you know?
Oh, and we forgot to mention, when you unlock the Tier 5 trait, the one little ship, it's a combat trait. When you claim it, you also get a non-combat runabout pet.
What?
So when you're on the ground, let's say on K7, you can launch it, and it's a runabout with the torpedo roll bar with authentic sounds, because me and Darkblade were testing it. It has the authentic sound, it will fly behind you and everything. It's actually rather cool looking.
Yep. It'll warp in, it's actually got the impulse sound, everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, we kind of skimmed over some of this a little bit and everything. We wanted to get some information out there to you guys on this one. I'm going to link this in the notes for you guys like we always do and everything. I encourage you to go through this. It'll give some information. Also be sure to check it out on Tribble as well. There is a lot of stuff to go through with this reputation, but it is very well worth it. But moving along, we have our mirror invasion.
Yes, the mirror invasion. Must run mirror. Okay, so mirror invasion is back, and we can go and save Bothell Station. It is here on PC, started on May 10th at 8 a.m. and ends on May 31st at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And it will only be playable during those 3 weeks while it's active. Once a day you get your multi-dimensional transporter, and you collect 14 of them, put them in the project, and you get your 50,000 dilithium ore, 500 fleet marks, 250 marks of your choice, and a brand new unique weapon, the Agony Phaser Energy Torpedo Launcher. So we're now going to have a Phaser Energy Torp to match the Disruptor and the anti-protons.
And the
Yes.
Tetrion.
And
the
And
Plasma.
the Tetrion.
And the plasma.
Yes.
Pretty much all we need
So-
is a Polaron energy torpedo, and we'll have one for every energy type.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, now this is the energy torpedo is an account-wide unlock. So once you claim it on one character, then you can unlock it for your entire account without having to run it. However, dilithium and the marks are are character-wide. So if you want the dilithium and the marks, you have to run the project on every character you want that on. But, and our little PSA, we do this every time this comes out. No, it's popular to AFK the first part of the mission. You know, to do nothing and just sit there and go. The ships go and let the rifts go and whatnot. But do not AFK in a pug match. If you want to run AFKs, there's a few public channels you can sign up in. There's Speed Event, all one word, public chat channel. They'll call out for AFK runs. NOP Public Queues, Public Elite STF, and yeah, I think that's it. Those three. Are all public channels you can freely join, and we'll team up for AFK runs, so that everybody in there knows that you're just going to sit and let the first 10 minutes just pass you by. Comments, questions?
Nope. I think that's pretty straightforward.
I'd rather have the old mirror event back that was more alt friendly. You wouldn't have to worry about AFK with the old event. And for anybody that's new to the game, the one I'm talking about was back when we had the hourly events, because there was a time where you didn't have like the weekend events.
I remember that.
You had hourly events where from, let's say, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. it was a mirror invasion. You could literally jump in as many times as possible to go through it, and it was just a massive fight. You warped in, you had to take out like 30 or 40 Mirror Universe ships, then you had to take out several in space dock. You took out the Stoddy. You could have the thing done in maybe 2 minutes if you had a good team going, just to nuke everything. It was just a nuke and warp out.
And you could play it on low-level tunes, so it was really good for them.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things you didn't want to AFK in it, because by the time you actually just got settled into an AFK pit, AFK, you're already done. It was basically like modern day CCA. You really don't want to AFK through it. You just want to go ahead and get it done, and you're out. And it just goes to the alt-friendly thing. I mean, you have a mission that's time-gated this much, where you're going to be in it for, let's say, 7 to 15 minutes, all things depending. After a while, you're just like, I only want to do this on one tune, because if I was to do this on, I have 9 tunes, let's say, for example, it's going to take you a long time to get it done on all of them if you wanted the reward.
Yeah.
It's just for me, I wish it was a little bit more alt-friendly. That's just me. And I know that's probably not going to change because they like the format, obviously. But especially for new players, considering new players are going to be coming in with the Victory as Life, creating a Jem'Hadar, and they might want to create more than one tune. Doing alts in this game for events sometimes can be challenging, just because of the time requirement involved.
And that's to where I say, why not both?
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah. I just want to see this torpedo. I'm excited about having a phaser energy torpedo. This is going to be nice.
Yep.
No, I'm
and
excited about
not
that
going to
too.
lie, I want it myself. But anyways, we will have this in the link for you guys. You can check that out and everything. And definitely check out the Energy Torp if you're a fan of that kind of thing. But moving along, we have 2 new ships that were added to the Gamma Vanguard pack.
Yes, as some of you may know, there is a pre-order pack for Victory's Life that you can get a bunch of titles, starships, quite a few extra a lot of extra stuff in this pack. You also get a smaller pack that only has a few of the things, but we're talking about the big pack. The big pack has 2 new ships, the one that everyone now will gladly be able to get, the Tier 5 Cardassian Galor. Yes, now everyone can get this as long as they get the pre-order. Nothing really has changed from the Galor, they just added it to the group. But now you also get the Tier 6 Jem'Hadar Vanguard Carrier, a brand new ship to go along with the other Jem'Hadar Vanguard ships. And it's basically a beefy version of the Commodore Dreadnought carrier. So you get a whole bunch of abilities of the sending out fighters, all that joyous stuff. But now you have 2 more ships. There you go. I'm excited that they have the Galor now in this pack. So I'm getting a Galor. Yeah. No longer shall I hunt for a Galor.
I think Darkblade paid someone off to put the Galore in there.
I know, right?
I know.
I can neither confirm nor deny that statement.
Couldn't get the Keldon in there?
I tried.
Aha!
But in seriousness, I'm actually glad to see this because especially if you're a newer player and everything, and you may only have enough money to make one really big purchase in the game, and that's the only big thing you're ever going to purchase, and assuming it's this pack, you're getting one of the most iconic ships in all of Trek, next to the Galaxy class, the Sovereign, the Constitution, stuff like that. So for one of the foes of the Federation, you're getting a very iconic ship, plus this was, the old lockbox ship and everything that there was no way to get anymore. You either had to have Cardassian lockboxes or Infinity boxes while it was in there for a time, but now there was no way to get the ship until this. So that opens up the other thing. Spiral wave disruptors, potentially. So this is going to guarantee that, for me anyway, I'm going to have access to that, and I can guarantee that each of my tunes is going to be able to have a Galore now, finally. So, no complaints here. Now, whether or not they listened to me and stuck it in there, that's what I'm going to tell anybody. That's what I'm telling everybody. Don't care if it's right or not. It's still what I'm telling everybody.
He's sticking to it.
Yeah, when Victory Life goes live, he's going to be on ESD, shaking everyone's hand, going, "Hello, I'm Darkblade. You are welcome. Hello, I'm Darkblade. You are welcome."
Probably. And what I find interesting about this, and I think this is a first, so people that are in chat on Twitch right now, correct me if I'm wrong, this would be the first ship from a lockbox that is now available in the C-Store for an account unlock.
I believe so.
Technically, there's the Jem'Hadar Dread and Heavy Escort that are going to go with it. So there's actually 3 that you're going to potentially.
But I mean, this is the first time we've ever seen something that was behind a lockbox. You had to get lucky with a key. Now these are the first, as you pointed out, those 3. These are the first 3 that are actually now going to be an account unlock purchase. And I know a lot of people have, oh well, why would you want T5U if you got T6? I mean, because it's still good. But the simple fact that they've actually made this precedent where T5U lockbox ships can now be placed behind the C-Store wall, it does open up possibilities for the future. I mean, some of these T5 options, more of them might show up in the C-Store if they find a reason to do it. And that's actually a pretty good thing.
Especially if you're somebody that likes to collect the old ships and everything. And the thing that had sucked about before, like I was saying, was you couldn't get the Galore anymore. You couldn't get the Heavy Escort Carrier. You couldn't get the Dreadnought. Now, like Timber was saying, some people may make the argument, why would you want T5U? Or Artie, whichever one of y'all said that.
Me, I did.
But, some people may make that argument. Well, the Tier 6s, by and large, are generally still harder to come by than a T5. So, if somebody's going to drop a lot of cash, like I was saying earlier, and this is going to be the one really big purchase they make in the game, this is going to get them some of those ships and everything. And then if they decide they want to upgrade to the Tier 6 later on, they still can. They could still upgrade to the Keldon. They could still upgrade to the Heavy Escort T6 or upgrade to the Dread Tier 6.
Not to mention,
but
Tier 5s and Tier 5Us are still competitive to Tier 6.
Indeed.
But I do like the fact that there's C-Store unlocks now. I mean, that is a welcome change.
But this also raises the question, too, I saw some people talking about, is for these particular ships, are they going to be individually purchasable, like they have with some of the others?
I would hope so.
It remains to be seen.
I think...
I would hope they are, too.
I think they most likely will be, as it's in a pack, so they won't. With how the coding most likely work, they can't just do it as a one-off. This is only it for that. I'm pretty sure they'll do the whole, sell it in the store, and you'll just have to get it then, or there.
I could see it going either way, honestly, myself. But yeah, I forgot what I was going to say about the other thing. But yeah, real brain fart there. But anyways, that'll probably come to me later. But moving along, we have introducing the Swarm. I doth believe that is mine.
Yes.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
But anyways, this is the first of our new queues. Whatnot going on with this. And it says, "This is Ambassador Odo. The Herc are about to devour this planet and we don't have enough time to get everyone to safety. The Dominion ships have been incapacitated by the Herc swarm. Help us secure the civilians before the main Herc forces arrive." So, basically, we work with the Dominion, and we try to protect the planet from getting devoured, and, yeah, protect civilians as they get away. I wasn't really watching the stream whenever they unveiled this, but, yeah, thoughts from the panel.
Seems simple and sweet for a PvE queue. It seems very, you just go in, you shoot up Herc, and then you leave. That's basically it, from how it looks.
I'm hoping that we don't end up with a repeat of Gateway to Grithor. Group transports are moving towards the planet. Civilian transports are moving away from the planet.
Yeah.
The first transport is away.
I think from a mechanic standpoint, for me, it's we've got similar stuff, but I like where it's going lore-wise, because they can at least show lore-wise that we're protecting Dominion planets. When the Dominion couldn't protect their own planets, the Alliance came in and saved the day. So if they're planning out their story far in advance, it does show long-term story writing that, hey, after dealing with the Herc, we can have a more formalized alliance between the Allied powers and the Dominion. So you can actually see more joint missions with the Dominion now, kind of deal. Lead slowly towards that one temporal mission that is part of the Temporal Arc. I can't remember which one it is. Where you go to the 27th century, you're seeing the Temporal Accords being signed, the Dominion representative is there. Leading towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, here's a really funny question before moving
Yeah.
on. If we ever make it to that point, will we have to team up with a past version of our character?
Oh, like we've gone so long with the game that we're actually playing that mission, but we're actually in the mission. Not,
Yeah.
Like we're playing the mission, and then there goes you, 200 some episodes back, coming up, going, "Hey, I'm a newbie. I'm now watching this unfold," and you're just like, "Oh, look at me being an idiot. I was so undergeared."
That'd be kind of funny, though.
Just saying, that needs to happen. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Romulan ale under, the fridge there. I mean, what? But, anyways, moving along, we have our PC patch notes for the 10th.
Yes. So, not a whole lot here. The big thing that we will talk about, after I briefly go is the new landing page.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Also, they resolved an issue which caused the TXAA to not be available as an anti-aliasing option. Resolved an issue where the Elite Starter Pack only rewarded 1 Captain Retrain token instead of 5. Here's an important note. If you purchased this item prior to the patch, okay, then you will automatically receive 7 additional tokens. Okay, in addition to the one that came from the purchase when you made the purchase. That's a total of 8 retrain tokens. So instead of getting the 5, you will have 8 if you bought it before the patch. After the patch, anyone who buys it after the patch moving forward, it will correctly reward the 5 Captain Retrain tokens. And then the Romulan Imperial Minefield resolved an issue that caused choosing Depart System from Final Contact to go to another contact. You should now be able to depart the system when chosen to do so at the end of the mission. Resolved an issue that prevented the operation from awarding fleet marks at conclusion, and added a duty officer weekend event from May 10th to May 14th. So, now let's go back and talk about this landing page.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
I know where this is going.
Well, okay, so I saw this and the first thing I said was that's going to be intrusive because it says appears upon logging in and when exiting the game by use of the escape key. Currently, it's appearing when you log into each individual character. Now, we've been told this is not intended. So, number one, that's the good news. They will be fixing it so that it will appear only the first time you log into your account when logging in. However, if you exit the game or change characters by using the escape key or the game menu button on your minimap, you will see the landing page then as well. Go to exit. With me so far?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, it is possible there are keybinds to exit other ways where you can bypass that completely. But they are going to change it so that you can, so that it only happens or you only see it once when you first log in to your account. And after that, as long as you don't log all the way out of the game completely and restart it, you shouldn't see it again unless you're pulling up that game menu or escape key.
Well, I will say,
Comments?
one of the things that's been showing up in the forums a lot, people just want to be able to turn it off permanently.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest player requests I've seen when it comes to this thing, because I understand what they were trying to do with it. I really do. And if it was to stay as part of the exit menu, that's cool. Like, it's just as you're exiting, you can use that as part of the menu. Okay, cool. But you're having something show up right now, even though it's unintended, every time, and one of the first things on that landing page is, hey, buy keys to unlock this thing.
Yeah.
You're just assaulting the players with, hey, buy keys, buy keys. If there was an option to turn it off, like there is an option to turn off seeing people like win ships and everything, those bulletin fly-ins, I think people would, like, some people might leave it up just so it's like a reminder to them, like the newest content or that kind of thing, since that's what it's for. But if there was an option to just completely turn it off and it was just only a part of the exit menu for some players, I think it would probably go over better. It's nice. It's a nice concept. It's just right now the execution is meh. But it's a nice concept.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I saw this and my first thought was that's going to be intrusive. Yeah, and it was. It's in your face, and you have to close it out to do anything, and it is intrusive. Basically, that's I think the best way to describe it. It's there, and I get what they're doing. They're advertising. They're trying to push sales. wow, that keyboard.
Sorry.
And, you know, but,
Click, 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 click.
but yeah, I'd like to see a way to turn it off, you know, completely, or keep it as just part of the exiting menu kind of thing when you go to change characters or log out of the game. But yeah, it just kind of...
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, it's just, like I said, I get what they're trying to do with it. It's just that the way it's coming across, it's not coming across as a landing page to show off info. It's coming off
Yeah,
a little
as
too
an
much
ad.
like as an ad, an in-game ad. And
Yeah.
we see plenty of those, you know, in other games, especially in mobile games. You see those all the
But-
time. You're trying to kill time.
Yes.
It's just
But I
it's
will
coming
say
off the
this.
wrong way.
I will say this, if they're going to keep it as is, Pilot Review Show would like to buy some space on that page.
Oh God.
Yeah, just saying. Though, one thing for me... no, you're not wrong. One thing for me, which, like you guys were saying, I understand what they're trying to do and everything. To me, it just needs to be more refined, whatnot. They need to fix the issue like they were saying. And to me, a big thing that I would find useful, because I think of this sort of like, you know, anytime you get a patch in World of Warcraft, a very major patch that changes a lot of stuff, you know, they'll pop up a screen one time to say, you know, check out the changes, gives you the option to do so or not, and just kind of does that for maybe the first 2 or 3 days or something. And then other games obviously have similar versions of stuff that do that. But for me, if I could get news on the thing, like if say a new blog goes up talking about patch notes, or any of the articles we've talked about so far
Yeah.
goes up, then I could be like, oh, they've updated a blog, let me click this, and then have it pull up a web browser and everything, and I can check it out. I can see, oh, this is what they're doing, and kind of go from there.
Yep.
Do something like that, and yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. As you know, the only other times you really see like the articles and whatnot is when you're opening up the launcher. Yeah, you see like maybe 2 or 3 little snippets of an article, and then maybe it flashes up something while it's
Yeah.
scrolling through loading. But that's it. Yeah, as soon as you load in, I'm taking from the seat from someone that doesn't do all the whole, you know, they're getting all the number crunching. They're just a casual kind of player. That would be a wonderful thing to see, you know, when they log in and be like, oh, there's something new. I mean, I can check this out now, because if you're casually playing, you're not seeing anything really on the launcher except
The
start.
biggest thing, yeah, exactly, and I think...
Basically like an in-game news ticker,
Yeah.
is I guess what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
And I know for me, what I notice is that the thing I get the most is that, or hear the most, is that people aren't, a lot of the casual players, they aren't noticing that little news block on the launcher that has the room for the 3 articles. And, you know, I know we all notice it.
Because we look out
Four
for
of
it.
us. Because we look for it because we're going to report on it on Saturday and, you know, and whatnot. And we
Right.
need to keep up to date. But a lot of players don't even notice it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, 'cause it's small. It's, you know, just writing. And a lot of times you don't see, like, the picture from the article in the splash screen and the ads that do go by. So I think that this landing page might be a good, you know, a good spot for some of that. I agree.
Yeah,
Just it's
it's there.
And
it's
it might-
intrusive.
And it might be a little less if it wasn't for the fact that I'm looking at it right now. If it wasn't for one of the top things on there is buy keys.
Buy keys.
I
Yeah.
mean, like, everything else is just about the content and, like, getting you excited about the content. You got Renegades Regret as a featured episode, the spotlight for the minefield, what's new. If there was, like, a coming soon section right there, where the lockbox
Yeah.
was, where it was advertising the new expansion that we're all trying to hype up, it'd be one thing. But when you've just
Right.
got buy keys right there, it has gotten a lot of players, and I'm not thinking about this by myself. A lot of people have seen it this way. that the buy keys thing is kind of like in your face. Hey, buy stuff, buy stuff.
Money grab, yeah.
Kind of like your ads in a mobile game. Just like, hey, buy this, or hey, do this and you can get this free kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, one of the guys on our TeamSpeak changed his phonetic to must resist urge to buy keys in response to this. Yeah, that's his current phonetic.
I think for something like that, if they want to say in like a little tiny part of it or something, feature, say, okay, this is the popular item on the C-Store this week, or this is the popular thing this month, or something like that. I wouldn't see anything wrong with that. And I think we can all agree that the idea is not necessarily a bad idea.
No.
It just needs to be more refined.
Absolutely.
And everything, because this has the potential to be a very nice thing.
Yeah.
It just needs to be more refined, and it could be a really valuable tool.
What if it was customizable? Like, you remove the whole part with the key and put in, like, the exchange between dilithium and Zen?
That would work.
Interesting.
Yep.
I can see it. I don't know that they would go as far as full customizable, but
I mean, that would also allow it to be like, oh, you don't want it at all? Alright, take it off. And then add it to, oh, you want more things? Here, put it on there so you can see it as soon as you load in.
I guess I could. Well,
I like the customization.
It has merit, I'll say that.
Disable, just one of the two. That'd be a nice thing to have.
But
yeah.
Anyways, I think we all agree it just needs a little bit of refinement and everything. It's not a bad idea, it just needs a little bit extra and everything. But moving along to our patch note, our patch note from the 11th.
Yeah.
For PC.
Yeah, we just got
it was a sticky note.
Resolved an issue with was causing a graphic-related crash with some of the NVIDIA graphic cards.
Yes. Thank goodness, because I was suffering from that. I was crashing randomly. So.
Yep. Now, I do know that, in part, some of the NVIDIA issues people were having were due to the drivers that NVIDIA had put out. Because there's actually, I think, 2 or 3 drivers that got put out in a short time. There was one on, I want to think it was the 25th of April, that got put out and was causing some issues. Then they put out a fix like a day or 2 after that for it, and then here on, it was actually the 9th, they had to put out another driver. So there were some issues with that because of the Windows update and all that kind of jazz.
Well,
but part of it was the game too.
Yeah, I know for me, for the last week, every day I had at least one crash to desktop. And after this patch went through, nothing. No more crashes. So, for me it seems to have worked. And I do run NVIDIA and, so...
Yep.
But yeah.
So that was my biggest thing was... for me, I just had to reinstall my driver. I don't know what it was with the NVIDIA drivers. It was just, for me anyway, that's the version I was seeing was that. But if you guys are still seeing, stuff, like I say, do let us know so we can pass it along to them and maybe get a remedy or a fix for it, hopefully.
Yes.
But anyways, I actually want to go to the Golden Nagus article.
Oh.
And we're going to come back to the other one. I want to save that for last because that's probably our biggest article of the evening.
Yeah.
And I know we're all going to have thoughts on that. So we're going to skip to our Golden Nagus article and everything. But this is actually our RP blog and everything. We get to see some interactions between Lita and Rom, our Grand Nagus, and everything. And it's actually a pretty good little read.
Now, before we get into it, I gotta say, did anybody else, when they read this, hear Rom and Lita's voices in their head?
Well, I mean, isn't that what we're supposed to?
The actual.
Is that what we're supposed to be doing? Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was what we're supposed to be doing.
Okay. No,
What would
I
Nagus
thought it was,
Rom
yeah.
think of that?
I don't know.
Little Bridge Commander reference for everybody, but,
Funny.
Anyway. Okay, continue.
But,
Let's continue. Where were we?
yeah, it's it's basically just them interacting, dealing with some stuff involving the Hurricane. It's showing kind of some of their interactions and everything. And like I say, I don't want to say too much on it because I don't really want to spoil it for anybody that likes to read this stuff. But yeah, thoughts from you guys on this one?
Like you said, it's a very fun read. I do like how when you're reading it, you see how Rom's thinking, like how you saw in the show, and you can see a lot of the like callbacks to just how Rom acts just normally. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. You could really got that sense of it. Yeah, it was interesting, and how much of an effect Lita has on it, and that she doesn't.
And that she doesn't what?
Doesn't like the
Cut out a little
Dabo
bit.
wheels.
Oh, yeah.
There's your
Spoiler.
What spoiler? I know.
Well, I mean, I think that was kind of obvious on the show.
Yeah.
Well, no, she doesn't like the holographic version of it.
But I mean, that's not really
But yeah.
spoiler to the story.
Right.
But, slight little thing there. But, yeah. Now, we will have this in our notes for you guys. Like I say, we don't like to say too much detail-wise because we don't want to spoil things for you guys. We don't want to be that guy and everything that we all hate. But, yeah. Like I say, this is a nice little blog. But, anyways, as far as our articles go and everything, we have our final article, and this is the biggest one that we've seen so far, which in my opinion rivals the lockbox ships, or former lockbox ships getting put in the pack, and that is Romulans flying the ships of their allies.
Yeah. So this has been something that I know players have asked for, or at least complained about, that Romulans could not fly their Tier 5 and Tier 6 ships of their allied faction. So this is going to change that for most ships. There is a list here, they're very specific, of which ships are not going to be allowed. And I'm not going to go through the list, you can read it on your own. Okay?
The list makes sense,
But
though.
it does. It looks, it's basically ones where there are a Romulan variant, from like a three faction or cross faction pack, and there's already a Romulan variant. You know what I mean?
In most cases, you have the NX class in there or the Vengeance, and those just make sense when it comes down to it. But for the most part, I mean, this is going to be a great thing. And you don't have to be a Romulan stuck with a Singularity core just because the biggest gripe was their lower power levels. Well, that's not a gripe anymore. You have the option to go and use a Tier 6 Vorcha when they finally come out, or a Tier 6 Sovereign instead, if you really wanted to.
Yes. So it definitely, and it'll be a healthy boost to your ships for your Romulan characters for your Admiralty system.
Yep.
You mean your Admiralty?
I do not know what that is, sir. I believe you mean Admiralty.
No, I meant Admiralty.
I would mute him, but he's our cameraman.
Now, this is a question I got for you guys, because I'm going back to that same temporal mission that I was talking about. Like I said, I can't remember the name of it offhand right now. When we're going to New Kittimer, and one of the contacts you can talk to is a Romulan
Time and Tide.
Time and Tide. You talk to a Romulan ambassador there, and she states that we come from a time before the Romulans joined the Federation. This could be one of those leading moments where, oh, you're able to fly a Federation starship. Could be leading once again, lore-wise, where the Federation and the Romulans formalize their joining the Federation itself. I mean, if they can fly a Sovereign class, they might as well be part of the service.
You know, Timber, you need to stop reading my notes.
I'm just saying, Artie, you've
That's
had
what
an
I was
effect on
literally
me.
going to talk about for the RP corner.
The bad thing is I don't even have my notes up. This is just something I thought about today when I was at work. But I mean, that's because I hang out with you, Artie, and you do this to me. I'm just saying.
It happens. It's a great thing, but no, I'll get more in detail with that stuff.
Yeah, and that's something that came to mind was, you know, now you've got a Romulan captain sitting on the bridge of a Galaxy class, which, you think in Captain Picard's day, that would have been blasphemous almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems crazy for that early episode to have Worf have the center chair for a little bit, even for a laugh or two.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
The Klingon Guile.
Yep.
But there's actually one thing that came to mind for me and everything, and I'm actually glad to see this for me personally. Because, you know, I'm somebody, I like to fly different kinds of ships. This gives me more variety to do that with and everything. And for me, the big thing that comes to mind is actually the trait packs that they have. Some of those. Now, I've not seen anything on this yet, and I'm sure they've taken this into account, but this is just one example. Say the Phantom Intel Escort that gives the reciprocity trait if you're a Federation character. Now, since we're going to be able to fly, you know, most of our Allied faction ships. Now, for a Romulan that is allied to the Federation beforehand, they had to purchase a cross-faction pack that would give them reciprocity, and then I can't remember the other trait that was in there.
Tactical retreat?
Force or tactical retreat? Tactical.
Something like that.
One of them.
Anyway.
One of them.
Anyway, it's another trait that they don't normally have access to.
I think.
But the big question...
I
go
think
ahead.
it was overwhelming force because tactical retreats
That's
on
it.
the Fate, isn't
That's
it?
it. I think, yeah. But anyway, so they had the choice between, you know, overwhelming force and then reciprocity. Well, now, since they're going to have access potentially to the Phantom Intel Escort, that means they're going to have a ship that could give them reciprocity. So my question then at that point is, what are they going to do with the cross-faction trait packs? Are they going to leave those in? Are they going to remove them outright? Or are they going to have a situation to where they remove reciprocity from the pack for Romulans and leave it just as overwhelming force? To me, that's an issue that I'm actually curious as to how they're going to work that out.
That's a good
and as
question.
to what they have planned.
Which, if that's the case, and people realize that that's going to happen, those particular boxes on the exchange, I mean, I don't think they go for that much anyway, depending on which faction you're going for. But these cross-faction boxes should go down in price further, because you can just get the ship.
Depends on the pack, but yeah. Because, like I say, I mean, that is a very big question that I have. And some of those boxes, depending on the trade, of course, can be pretty expensive, depending on trade and faction. So, if they're going to have access to the ship, then logically that should include the trait. And then that raises the question of, what do they do with the pack? Do they leave it as just, now in the case that we've been using, do they leave it as simply reciprocity and overwhelming force?
Well, would they need overwhelming
just...
force though? Because KDF Romulans can get over force.
Well, we're assuming, for the hypothetical example,
Right.
that they've allied to the Federation, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that raises the question, you know, then would that be, and this raises the good point, if, say, overwhelming force was the one they couldn't ordinarily get, then would they need it for just, say, Fed Romulans have a pack that they have to get? Or would they have it to where...
Yeah.
See, I guess you see where I'm going
I think
with
you
that?
need a good flow chart
But-
about this.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
But I think that they might have thought that through, and it's just going to take a patch for them to update it.
Right.
They're just trying to get it like, you can fly the ships now. What about the traits? We'll fix that in a later patch. Let's just have them fly the ships. That might be where they're going right now, because they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with that particular instance you're referring to, the cross-faction boxes.
What they might do is take the cross-faction boxes out altogether and add those traits into the account-wide range.
That might be it.
That would make sense. That would make sense. But the reason I was wondering about that, and is because, okay, let's say they left it in as a trait pack. Well, then, if they're going to fly the ship, then, somebody from that faction, they're going to be, a little peeved if they bought the trait only to find out they could have got it from the ship. So, yeah, putting it in the account reclaim, I could see that being the best solution.
Yeah, so that way if you're a KDF ROM, you can still get it because if you've unlocked it on a Fed character, and if you're a Fed ROM, you can get whatever KDF ROM traits that would have been unlocked from a KDF chip. So
that would make sense.
I'm just sad we're not going to have Romulans fly around with the command assault cruiser. You can't Metreon people with people that do plasma like on a daily basis. What do you mean?
Yeah, like I say, some of these ships, I mean, they make sense in the long run. It sucks that you're not going to be able to fly them, but it makes sense as to why these specific ones have the restriction.
Now, it does make me wonder, because Romulans have always been, Tier 5 and Tier 6 ships are not available. So it does make me wonder, what is prompting it? I mean, I think it's going to have something to do with the Gamma Recruit and how they're going to handle, or not the Gamma, the Dominion faction that's coming, and how they're going to handle ships regarding them. And I think that's what's prompting this change. I'm not sure if that came out very clearly.
It's a possibility.
This may be only step 1, but step 2 would be like, now Klingons and Federation characters can now use Romulan ships or something. I mean, there's a whole another line that we can go down with this.
Yep.
And
but
I know we don't usually do this, but somebody broke it in Kirby After Dark chat.
Yeah, I'm checking it now.
Live?
Apparently, a particle emission plasma torpedo at ultra rare. It has 5 mods instead of 4.
interesting.
Yeah.
But we'll check on that later.
We don't normally do that, but
we're not even in that right section for bugs.
I know.
Yeah.
Tell them to wait like another 30 minutes and then do it again.
But, like I say, I wanted to save this article for last because this is a very big deal, and we're seeing a lot of really big game-changing things coming with the expansion that we've not seen before. And this is one of the most major changes since Romulans were introduced years ago. But, anyways, like I say, I'm sure they've thought of this stuff and everything. It'll be interesting to see what they actually go with and everything, and as time goes on, as to why, this came up. Maybe, like you said, a potential Gamma recruit's going to come. Maybe they've got some kind of potential issue that this would have created if they didn't make this change. Who knows? But, anyways, that's what we have for our articles for this evening. But finally, moving along to our budget build of the evening. But, and then that gives Timber a little bit of time to check on our bug.
Yes.
Now, today's budget build is actually a Vokuv carrier. And this is a 1-key budget request that was submitted to us. Now, our 1-key budgets are a variation on our normal bare bones builds. Now, for a normal bare-bones budget, we assume 2 million EC is a maximum spending limit. Everything else has to be free or cheap as possible. Now, the one key assumes that somehow the player has gotten a hold of a lockbox key. Maybe they've saved up enough Zen, maybe they flipped Dilda Zen. However they've come about for the key, they sell the key, and whatever they get for the key is their EC budget to build the ship. Now, in this particular instance, the lockbox keys at the time of filming this were going for about 4.5k, or 4.5 million. I don't know where the K come from.
Yeah.
But about 4.5 mil, and that's what you have for an EC budget this time around. Now, this is actually one of the leveling ships that you get, so it's technically a Tier 4/Tier 5 and everything. It can't upgrade, so it's basically, and they label it as a Tier 5 in the builder. But anyways,
yes.
For this particular ship and everything, it has 6 weapons, whatnot, and so it's a 3-3 layout. Now, for our forward weapons, we have the Nausicaan beam array. We have a plasma disruptor. Now, the plasma disruptors are disruptor weapons, but they also carry the disruptor and plasma procs, so they're technically hybrids. And then we also have our resonant disruptor as well up front. In the aft, we also have 2 more plasma disruptors and our Martok Omni. Now, for this particular ship and everything, the user wanted to basically just blow stuff up, and we kind of gave it a mix of weapon powers, abilities that it can attack with its weapons, or drop a little bit of space wizardry on people to take advantage of the seating that it gives. Now, this is one of the times we didn't actually use a full-blown set, and we kind of mixed and matched a little bit for this, for the shields, deflector, engines, all that kind of stuff. Now, for our shields and our deflector, we went with the Bajoran 2-piece. This is going to give us the buff to our weapons and all that kind of jazz, I believe, is what comes from the 2-piece. But I actually have it here for you guys. So, yep, this is going to give us our buff to our 2-piece. This is going to give us a Cat 1 boost to Phaser, Disruptor, and Plasma. So this allows us to take advantage of either of those 3 energy types really easily. Then for our engines, we have our Romulan engines and whatnot. Now, our Romulan engines, the reason we used those is because of their, I believe it is weapon amplification, I think is the one that it gives. So weapon amplification, which I believe is the crit sev one.
Yes.
So, yeah, it gives a little bit of crit severity, which is very nice to have. And the Romulan engines, you know, are one that, even at the high end, I've seen a lot of people use them and everything for that reason. So this is going to give him a little bit more knockdown power in that aspect. Now, since we're not really using a complete set, since the user did not have access to the Bajoran warp core in this instance, otherwise we may have ran 4-piece, we had to source a warp core, and in this instance we went with the Temporal Phase Overcharged core. This is one you guys have heard me talk about many a time here on the show now, because it is a very good staple core for free. This particular warp core and everything, if you've created a Delta recruit during this event, then you know about the Temporal Negotiator device for ships. This particular device, Temporal Negotiator, will cut bridge officer cooldowns in half for the duration it's active. This essentially gives you the same thing in the form of a warp core capacitor. So it can give quite a bit of cooldown power whenever needed. So it's
nice little
not bad.
core. Yeah, but as Blade said, and this is actually for my husband's account, had my husband run the anniversary event and gotten the Bajoran warp core, we would have gone with the Bajoran 3-piece on this build.
Basically, he pansied out, is what she's saying. So yeah.
He didn't let me start playing as half.
Yep.
Otherwise, I would have got it for him.
Yep. But, anyways, Yes, that is legal since they are husband and wife, but in case anybody wanted to try to give us grief. But as far as devices go and everything, you have 4 device slots, and we usually like to think of devices as personal preference here on Pilot Review, because for the most part they kind of are. But there are a couple that we do like to recommend to people that come to mind, and one of them is one that everybody's going to have access to through the story, and it's actually a really nice one, and that is the Subspace Field Modulator, which gives essentially the free equivalent of a neutronium armor's worth of resistance for the time it's active. Now the major downside is it does debuff you for a minus 400 protonic damage resistance. Now, there's not a lot of enemies that use protonic damage in the game, but there are enough of them that it warrants making a note of. Then, some other devices could be energy amplifiers, particle flood batteries,
armor catalyst,
weapons batteries,
the deuterium surplus.
Pretty much any of those, you've got quite a few options to pick from. But, anyways, as far as our consoles go, we have a 3 engineering, 4 science, 2 tactical layout for our consoles, and then we do have 2 hangar bays. Now the hangar bays I left blank because I don't like assuming what hangar pets people like to use, and I don't know what they have access to either, so we just kind of assume that they've got their pets in order.
In this particular one for my husband, he does have the Burrell Bird of Prey.
Okay.
So yeah.
But anyways, as far as our engineering consoles go, whatnot, we have the Trillium D-plating from the Ragnarok mission. Now this will give a good little bit of damage resistance as well as shield capacity. And it's basically a field generator console and a neutronium armor slammed into one thing. It is a very nice console to have, especially on the budget end. Then we have our assimilated module from the Omega Reputation. This gives a nice little bit of crit chance and crit severity, as well as a bit of control expertise. Then we have our Martok Defense Configuration Console. This is basically an RCS and a field generator slammed into one thing. The biggest bonuses it's going to give are a bit of turn rate, as well as a bit of shield capacity and everything. And this is also going to give us the 2-piece set bonus for the Martok set, which we will look at in just a second whenever we examine our set bonuses. Then we also have in science, we have our Nausicaan Siphon Capacitor, which gives a good bit of power transfer, a bit of Drain X, and a bit of disruptor damage. Couldn't think for a second there. So, pretty nice little console. And we'll take a look at the set bonuses that it gives us for the Nausicaan stuff in just a moment. Then we also have our Temporal Disentanglement Suite, which the main reason we're using this console is it gives a little bit of damage resistance to the shields. It gives a nice bit of shield capacity. And depending on our aux power, it provides a nice boost to crit chance and crit severity. So, very potent little console. Then we also have 2 of our exotic particle focusers from our Crenum Science Lab, the Control X EPG variety. This is going to improve our exotic damage on the ship and everything, provide more control ability. Then we also have in our tactical consoles, we have 1 disruptor induction coil, basic disruptor. And then we also have our harmonic resonance relay, which will pair with our resonant disruptor and give us the 2-piece set. Now, there are a good bit of set bonuses to take into account here, so we'll touch base on those really quickly. Now, the Martok set bonuses and everything, the one that you're going to get is 2.5% critical chance and plus 15 accuracy. Now, that may not be the most terribly impressive, but at the budget end, when you may not ordinarily have access to a lot of crit chance or severity, that can be a pretty big deal. And since you're using the 2-piece, you know, it's not a bad little bonus, I don't think. Then for our, what do you call it? Noskin set. It's been a long day, folks. That's all I can say. Since we're using the beam and the console, we get the Nausicaan weaponry augmentation, which makes the disruptor net proc, or gives the disruptor proc for the net on the Nausicaan beam a little bit more power, so that's very nice. But then for the resonance set, take a quick look at this for the two-piece. You get a little bit of weapon power, and you get an increase, or another little effect from the disruption wave, which comes on the beam. It increases energy damage dealt to shields by 15%. So this is going to let you knock down the shields a good little bit quicker. So you've got a good collection of little set bonuses to play with here. It's going to be very nice. And then there is technically the two-piece of the Disentanglement Suite and the Temporal Phase Core, which basically gives Tetrion damage, which isn't really going to help us any, but being thorough, it is there. Now for our bridge officer skills and everything, since this is a carrier, we modified it a little bit from what we've been doing. Now we have 2 points into hull and shield capacity each, 1 point into shield and hull restoration each. We also have our energy weapon training maxed out. We've got 2 points into improved EPS flow, a point in impulse expertise. We've also went with improved control and drain X. We also have 2 points into target sensors, or targeting expertise, to give us a bit more accuracy. That offsets the firing mode penalty to things like fall and scatter volley a little better. Then we have defensive maneuvering, makes our ship harder to hit. Then we have the 3 points into our hull platings, which is going to give free defensive value. Improved shield hardness, which is going to increase damage resistance to the shields. Then we also have weapon amplification and specialization, which is free severity just by maxing them out, and a pretty fair chunk of it too. Then in our captain tier we have defensive and offensive subsystem tuning, that is free power to each of the subsystems. If you wanted to, you could further specialize into a specific system. We have 2 points into our improved EPG for exotic particle. Then we have 3 points into our long-range target sensors. That's going to offset the weapon drop-off penalty and make it a heck of a lot less. Then you have your choice of either hull penetration or shield penetration. As long as you have at least one of these and everything maxed out, you're going to be doing pretty good. You can make arguments for either one. There really is no right or wrong answer to this. Now, since we're using Disruptor, we decided to go with the hull pen to take advantage of the Disruptor proc a bit more. Then for the Admiral tier, we have 1 point in Warp Core potential, and that's going to give us a bit of free power. And then we also have a point into Tactical Readiness, which is going to cool down our tactical powers 10% faster. And then, since this is a carrier, we picked up all 3 points into our Coordination. This is going to make the pets hit harder and last a bit longer in combat, ideally, and just make them overall a lot better. Then, for our specializations, to take advantage of the science-based seeding that the ship has a lot of, and also allow it to still do damage with its primary weapons, we have the Temporal Operative primary and Intelligence as secondary. But that's what we have for that. Moving on to traits, personal space traits, we have the Accurate trait. That's going to offset the fall penalty a bit more. Then we have our beam training. That's going to be free beam damage. Then we have Elusive for free defensive value. We have Fleet Coordinator for free damage based on how many people are in the team, up to a 10% damage boost, or a 2% boost if it's just you in the group. Then we have the Beam Barrage trait. You could either use it or the Particle Manipulator one from the crafting schools. In this case, we slotted the Beam Barrage. We always like to assume that you've leveled at least one of the crafting schools as you've brought the character up. In this case, we assumed beams for this particular builder. Then we have the career-specific trait of the photonic capacitor for science. If you are not a science officer but would like to use the build, it's simply swap in your own career-specific trait and you're good to go. Then we have the point-blank shot from the House Peg mission. This is going to increase our damage the closer we are to a target up to a certain maximum. We have Operative for a free little bit of critical chance and severity. And then finally the Nanite Repair Matrix for a nice little heal in a pinch. Now for Starship traits, we have the best defense because it is a free trait. This grants a hull healing buff to our attack patterns in addition to their normal effects. And then we have the improved predictive algorithms from the Intel tree, which is a nice little thing to have. And, you know, hey, free trait. And some benefit is better than none in this case. Now for our space reputations and everything, we have the chronocapacitor array. Now, if you think you're fine on cooldown, you could potentially use the particle generator amplifier and everything, so that is an alternative to that. Then we also have precision for free critical hit chance, advanced target systems for free severity, and then aux power offense for a damage boost based on our aux power. For our active reps, we have the anti-time entanglement singularity, which is a nice little AoE kick in the pants to the enemy. It'll slow them down, dealing physical damage to them and everything, so it is very, very potent. Then we have the biomolecular shield generator, which is the little green ball you see people using in ISA and other maps. It gives a little bit of instant healing to the shields when you first step into it. It also increases the regen rate of the shields and reduces damage taken to anybody within the area for the time it is active. So then we have the bug on me. I don't see one anyway. But I had to mow my grass today in case anybody's wondering, and I thought maybe there was a bug on me or something. But anyways, that aside, we also have our quantum singularity manipulation. Now the quantum singularity manipulation will increase all science stats by plus 100 for the duration and give a temporary cloaking effect. Now, a great combination of powers to use is pop your exotic damage increases first and everything. Follow up then with quantum entanglement singularity, and then pop off a supercharged gravity well and an anti-time entanglement, and you'll get a bit more bang for your buck that way. Then our final power that we can go, or that we have, is our deploy sensor interference platform and everything. This is an oh crap I'm gonna die type of thing. And what this will do is it will poof up a little sensor platform that will taunt enemies to itself until it is either destroyed or the time runs out, whatever happens first of those two things. Alternatively, the refracting Tetryon Cascade is available if you wanted a more DPS focused option. But that's what we have as far as traits go. Now for our bridge officers. Everything. This is where things start to come together a little bit more. Now for this particular ship, it has a Lieutenant Commander Tactical, Lieutenant Commander Engineer, Commander Science, and Lieutenant Science. So the seats are locked to those specific careers no matter what. For our Lieutenant Commander Tactical, we have a TAC Team 1, Beta 1, and FA 3. So we can redirect our shields, debuff the enemy through Beta, and smack anything in range with a beam through our Fire at Will 3. Then for our Lieutenant Commander Engineering, we went with a Engineering Team 1. This is going to remove certain pesky debuffs like the Viral Matrix that the Iconians love to throw at people. It's also going to give a bit of hull healing in a pinch. Then we also have a copy of Emergency to Weapons 2 and Emergency to Weapons 3. This is going to guarantee that we have the buff up all of the time, and it will give a bit of power to our weapons, as well as a damage increase while the power is active. Then for our science seats, we have two of them. We have a Commander Science and Lieutenant Science. So for our Lieutenant Science, We have a Hazard Emitters 1, which is a heal over time that's going to purge certain things like Board and Plasma Fire. Then we have a Transfer Shield Strength as a nice little shield heal when we need it. Then for the Commander's Science, we have the Science Team ability. This is going to purge a certain debuff such as a subnucleonic-based effect, as well as healing the shields a little bit. Then we also have our Destabilizing Resonance Beam 1, which is a nice little kick in the pants to foes. We also have one of our money abilities this go around, and this is our Subspace Vortex 3, which is a nice little zero distance power. Then we also have a Gravity Well 3 as our final power, so you can kind of group enemies up and do a lot of damage to them. Now, to preface that really quickly, a zero distance power and everything, the reason I mention that is it basically means as far as the enemy is concerned, you are right on top of them, even if you fired this power off at range. So you're going to be drawing a bit more threat than normal. Actually, a lot more threat, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah, in fact,
But,
all three of those, the Destabilizing Resonance Beam, the Subspace Vortex, and the Gravity Well, are all zero distance. Because they spawn right on top of the enemy assumes that you, being the caster of it, are right on top of them and gets angry. You.
Yep. But, anyways, we really quickly take a look at the notes and then get comments from the panel. Now, as far as our overall costs, we're looking at, we had a budget of 4.5 million, we ended up using 2.3. Out of that, as far as dilithium goes, the most expensive thing that we had to purchase were the Romulan engines. That was 32,500 dill, 2,500 dill each for the two focusers, and then 15,000 dill for the assimilated module. That's 52,500 dilithium total, so you're looking at roughly 7 days build time, assuming only one character refining dilithium per day. But, yeah, comments, thoughts from the panel?
Looks good. I'll build it on his account right now.
Sounds cool.
I'll get back to you.
But, anyways, that's our budget build for the evening and whatnot, and everything. Hopefully you guys find it of some use, and if you're interested in trying out a Vokuv, maybe this build will work for you.
Yeah.
But, moving along to the bugs corner and everything, I don't really have too awful much I can touch base on and whatnot, but there are a couple of little things. And one thing we had actually mentioned earlier in the show were the NVIDIA issues. Now, if you are somebody that had been seeing the crash to desktop issue, where it doesn't pop up an error box or anything, that is supposed to have been fixed and everything as far as the game side goes. Now, if you are still seeing this, let us know, because it's definitely not supposed to be crashing like that. But, and if it is, then maybe we can try some stuff for you and everything. But, anyways, that's the major stuff. But, yeah. That's it for the Bugs Corner for this evening. I can assure you guys that I am continuing to test the new things on Tribble and everything, so hopefully it launches as bug-free as possible for you guys. But, moving along, we have the Teacher's Corner. What have you got for us this week?
So this week, first of all, raise your hand if you've ever bought a duty officer, weren't paying attention, and realized after you bought it that it was for the opposite faction.
Hey, wake up.
It's happened.
Yeah. Right. So, this happened to some poor unfortunate soul on ESD. My husband's over there, can I put my arm down now? Yes, honey. Anyway, this did happen to some poor unfortunate soul on ESD, and he asked, so what do I do with it now? Right? How can I get rid of this, or how can I use this? So, it inspired my teacher's corner for this week, which is transferring duty officers to other characters. Because you can do this. they are tradable as long as you haven't put it on active ground or space duty, which, if it's of the opposite faction, you won't be able to. But if it's the right faction and you just want to move it to another character because it could better use that specific kind of DOF, then that's a thing too. So if you wanted to move one DOF from, a KDF aligned DOF from a KDF character to another KDF character, you can do that. But basically this is all using the mail. So I go through, I show exactly how to do it, and walk through the process, and that whole thing. Thoughts, comments?
I will be honest, extremely helpful.
Yes.
I thought, I just thought there was another way. It explains that this is the easiest thing to do.
It really is. It is that, or put it back up to sell. But yeah, sell it again. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was a time that I was getting. I don't remember what duty officer it was, but it was a human that I was getting. I was like, it wasn't until I already got the duty officer, realized there was a red background instead of a blue one, and then went.
Yeah.
They really need to, put a better symbol on it, or saying, hey, it's not. And then I was like, you know what? Why do we have cross-faction guys here? We can't do cross-faction. Why are these guys allowed to do cross-faction?
Well, there is one saving grace. If you're buying common duty officers, right?
Right.
And you don't know what to do with it, you can donate a cross-faction officer to your fleet. So if I'm a Fed,
okay,
and I accidentally buy, say a common research lab scientist, and it's a KDF.
Right.
Okay? And I accidentally bought it because I was, whatever. Anyway, so if I go into one of my fleet projects that needs a science and medical duty officers, I will be able to donate that common KDF DOF, even though it's a Fed character. I have noticed that. Yeah.
That's a workaround,
isn't it? But if you bought like a purple one, then you're SOL.
Yeah.
You got to transfer it, or yeah. So. But it won't let you use a cross-faction duty officer for completing any duty officer assignments or putting on active space or ground. So you have to either sell it, put it back up on the exchange and sell it, or transfer it. Which, I'm more of the thing of transfer it.
Hey, make it useful, it works.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's Teacher's Corner for this week.
Always nice to know what to do in those little situations like that. But definitely check out Teacher's video and everything. We'll have a link in the description for you guys. You can check that out. But anyways, moving along to our final segment of the evening, we have the RP Corner with Artie. And what have you got for us this week,
Well,
dude?
as I might have mentioned earlier due to Timber, I'm actually going to be talking about the Romulan ships and how they actually work with the RP environment. As you all may know, a lot of the factions took a heavy toll due to the Iconian War. In-game, that is quite a bit ago, as well as most RP groups that try to stick with modern time. They most likely counted as that war was most likely in a 2412 or a 2414, not 2418. So it's a bit ago. We're still rebuilding still, but for why Romulans are allowed to fly Starfleet and Klingon ships, it's easily to explain it as it's a joint venture. Meaning that as we're all still allied, we're all, putting all of our resources in the same pot to, rebuild the quadrant, prepare us for the next big bad guy, which is now the Herc. We're, we may have vessels that are, the vessel's all ready to go and all that, but we are short on people, maybe short on a command officer, someone with experience, someone that's experienced with a certain sector or a certain enemy. That's why we would have, say a Romulan taking the helm of one of the Starfleet ships or something. Maybe you have an idea of that, your enemy is deceptive. You need someone just as deceptive to know what they're planning. So you have the Romulans on board. All intermixed. In roleplay, I've seen some groups that go, yeah, you have a Starfleet ship, but you have Klingons and Romulans also on board, both from their respective factions, basically taking full sections of the ship, making it their own. It's a full joint venture starship. Now, for this, a lot of these groups most likely help out with intel operations, trying to sneak aboard someone else's starship and figure out what they're doing, helping out with ambassadorial duties, stuff like that. Other times, they are just full combat. When there's a ship was probably just in major conflict or something, a major battle against, say, the Herc, there are some ships that, yeah, they're easily repaired, but you don't have the crew for them anymore. A lot of people died during the attack on Bayshore. So you may have a Romulan that goes, well, I lost my warbird, and Alliance Command basically goes, yeah, we have a replacement for you. You're getting on this Galaxy class over here. Have fun. And that works. As long as everyone agrees that, you're all on the same side, we're all, going for the same cause, it all just sets up. As I also mentioned before due to Timber, this also would technically lead us up to how everything looks in the 26th century, 27th century, 31st century. We're all basically in one big pot and we're all working to the same goal. Doesn't matter what ship you are, doesn't matter what race you are, doesn't matter what sub-faction you are, you're all the same team. So it doesn't matter what ship you're on, you all know what's going on. You could be on one ship or another, it's all the same thing. Now, for why not every ship? Like in the list that you saw the Dreadnought, you saw the Chimera, you saw a lot of other ships like the Command Assault Cruiser, a lot of the Temporal Ships. Well, the Temporal Ships, I'll get those off the bat immediately. They're from the future. Your character's not from the future. So technically, if it's from the future and you're from the current timeline is using such a ship, you technically kind of stole it, and that's a different story altogether. But of the timeline, you most likely have it as time travel is a still sacred thing. You don't want everyone to just use it willy-nilly. So your faction's most likely keeping whatever's on that ship kind of secret or keeping it to themselves instead of spreading it around. Not to mention the other factions have their own versions of said ship. So you don't really need to share around that way. It's just a color difference, more or less, for the ships. For the other, big temporal starships, say like the Enterprise J. Well, same thing. It's from the future. We're not there yet. Now, for like I was going with more like the other, like the alternate universe ships and some of the other heavy like Starfleet or Klingon ships, like the Command Assault Cruiser and stuff like that. In an in-character view, the Command Assault Cruiser has a lot of tech on it that the other factions do not use, and not to mention that it does have a battle cloak on it. If you have, in-game, if you use all the consoles for it, you can get a cloaking device for it. Yeah. The Romulans, although they say go willy-nilly with all the cloaking devices, it doesn't matter to us anymore since Treaty of Algeron's, kaput. The Federation president still was like, yeah, we're still going to honor that deal. We're okay with it. And Starfleet was just like, yeah, we'll agree to it too. Hide the cloaking device on that starship over there. And we got this big battleship that basically rivaled the Daredexes with a cloaking device and compact a strong punch just through the Daredex the same way. You wouldn't want every guy to know about that, would you? So there's that reason why some ships don't have the combined crews. But not to mention, like in DS9, the only reason why you had the Defiant with Defiant had a Romulan on board was because it had a Romulan cloaking device. You needed someone to operate it. That would also be agreed on with like the other Starfleet ships, the other Klingon ships. You may be sharing tech. You may be just sharing information, like an intelligence officer ship. that would work. That would be the proper mix, I guess. Thoughts?
Makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely an interesting perspective. Say that. Seeing how much thought you put in this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's the RP corner for the evening. But we will have that in the description for you guys, so you can check that out and everything. Another good job as always, sir.
Yep.
But anyways, that's our show for this evening and whatnot. We went a bit longer. Like I say, that's because we've had quite a few really big changes that have been advertised for the game that are coming as of late, and we wanted to do them their proper justice and actually discuss them a little bit, to discuss all the possibilities and everything, or as many as we can. But anyways, hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Before we head out, shout out to our good friends over at the Temporal Armada. Very cool people. Definitely check out their program. You guys will enjoy it, whatnot, but very chill bunch of folks. Also, another shout out to our other good friends over at the Kurtang Pirate Radio. The party is there. So, you guys will definitely enjoy their little radio program and whatnot. Very good selection of music. But, also, if you have requests for the budget build and everything, please let us know. We do take requests. In fact, tonight's request actually tonight's budget build actually was done at the request of a user. So let us know, what kind of a budget do you have? Do you have more of a bare bones type of budget? Do you have something more mid-range in mind? Do you have something perhaps even high-end that you're looking for? And everything. Let us know what kind of a ship you've got, what you're wanting to do. Are you wanting to do space wizardry? Are you wanting to be just pure pew-pew death lasers? Are you wanting to be the unkillable tank? Or, whatever you're wanting to do. And we'll hook you up. If you think that your gear's in order, but it's just maybe something you're not doing right, some power you're not activating at the right time, or if you could just learn to time a mission just a little bit better, and you need help with your piloting, feel free to submit a video to us and everything through our website and everything, whatnot, and get a brief little clip of your piloting, and let us know what you're looking to do, and we'll help you out in that department as well. After all, we are the Pilot Review Show. If you have requests for the Teacher's Corner, feel free to let her know. Maybe there's some little something in the game you just don't really understand, and she may just do something over your, may do a video over your thing. If you have a request for the RP Corner, feel free to let Artie know. He does take requests. Maybe it's you just don't know how to handle a certain event. Maybe you're looking for ideas on stuff, whatever it is. And he may just talk about it on the show. And if you have any bugs, also feel free to let us know. Whatnot, these screwballs will get them to me and everything, and I could pass them along to the devs and whatnot, and see who we can get plastered with the drinking game this week. but all joking aside and whatnot, like I say, the devs don't like bugs any more than you or I do, and everything. There's only so many of them, and whatnot. But for now, folks, and everything, this is the Pilot Review Show, reminding you to have your tribbles spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
Catch you around.